It is the end of an era in Oakland. The Rangers will be a part of it, and that's the lead of our show today. We talk the final road trip of the year for your Texas Rangers, and it starts in Oakland, California, and the DLLS Rangers Podcast starts now. It is the end of an era in Oakland as the Oakland Coliseum, O.co, McAfee Stadium, Overstock.com Stadium. It's had more names than most stadiums. It's had a lot of special moments, too, and it's about to see its final baseball games played there over the course of the next 3 days. Hi there. Welcome to the DLLS Rangers Podcast, and the Rangers are the final opponent at that stadium, Oakland Coliseum, as it's mostly been known over the years. John Radigan here with Abby Jones and Jeff Wilson. It's strange because, Jeff, you and I have been there multiple times, and there's nothing about that ballpark itself, the physical structure, that virtually anyone will miss. And yet the memories and the history and all the things that happened there do make it this a nostalgic week here.
Oh, definitely. I mean, the A's, everybody remembers the Bash Brothers and then the Moneyball teams. But, in the early 70s, the A's were awesome. They won 3 straight World Series in 72 through 74. And, really the franchise has been nomadic. I mean, they were the Philadelphia Athletics. That's where Connie Mack got his start and had the long reign. Then the Kansas City Athletics, and then ultimately Oakland. And I'm assuming they'll take the Athletics moniker with them to Las Vegas. So it's always been a nomadic franchise. But again, they've played a lot of good baseball and a lot of meaningful games in that ballpark. And it's easy to forget that when you look at how awful it is and how empty it is. The plumbing problems, the rodent issues. That's serious.
No,
the rodent
it's crazy.
issues.
That's
They had
even
a
a
possum in the
statement.
press box for crying out loud.
Yeah.
So there are problems that never got addressed. It seemed like this kind of stuff that could have been addressed. Seems like this is an issue that could have been avoided, but I don't know that either side really wanted it bad enough. And now that the decision's been made, and people are waxing philosophically and poetically about the end of the Oakland franchise, but where were these sentiments when it got down to the nitty gritty? And I know ownership has a hand in it, but I don't know that the city really wanted to fight as hard as they did. And I know that's got to be, California has to be the toughest state in the union to get taxpayer funding, but still, if it meant this much to the city and the area, something could have been done, and ultimately nothing ever happened. So I'm not going to miss the place. I'm really not. I didn't like going to Oakland at all, and I don't think players are going to miss it either.
I don't think Sacramento's any better.
It's not, but it comes with the hope of a nice new beautiful indoor ballpark in Sin City and all the fun that you can have when you're not at the ballpark. So it'll take a couple of years, and they're going to be probably disastrous, but at least it's not Oakland.
Yeah.
For me, I loved going there because I traveled with the team, and we stayed in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. And that was great. With a nice hotel in San Francisco. I mean, it was just fantastic. And then you'd endure the ballpark, right? But it didn't. Fortunately for me, that visiting TV booth was the one that had the possum in it. And it was, we were there about a series or two after the Mets announcers vacated those premises because they were just looking up over their shoulder and there's a possum looking down at them. And that's a nasty looking creature, that possum.
You didn't want to give it a hug?
Yeah, probably a show for another day. The nastiest looking rodent, but that's right up there with them. So it was really ugly. But Let's take a look at some of the accomplishments, some of the things that happened since 1968 when the Oakland Athletics moved to the Coliseum. Now, it had opened for a couple years earlier for the Raiders in 66, who were there from 66 to 81. And then, of course, they came back and were there from 95 to 2019. But as for the Athletics team, in their 57 years in Oakland, they won 4 World Series. Actually, 2 of them, 73 and 74, they actually clinched right there at the stadium, right there at Oakland Coliseum. They had 21 playoff appearances, 17 American League West crowns. They've had 7 Hall of Famers through there, 5 Cy Young winners, and 7 Rookies of the Year. And they also have had 4 Managers of the Year. And those 2 perfect games that were both pitched there that were almost 42 years apart to the day. Catfish Hunter, one of the Hall of Famers, by the way, that swam through there, and Dallas Braden. So there has been so much baseball history there. Much of the stadium really has been ruined. And it is, by the way, the last stadium that did both baseball and football. They all used to do that.
Yeah.
It was the last one that was continuing to do both baseball and football. And that is extremely, extremely difficult. And I think that the presence of both teams there is ultimately what in many ways ruined the place.
Yeah, and it's an end of an era for sure. The finale game on Thursday is already a sellout, and this will be their 4,493rd regular season game. That's the 5th most by any active ballpark, just behind Boston, Chicago, Los Angeles, and Anaheim. But the Coliseum's hosted 61 playoff games, so 5th most all time, and the 1987 All-Star Game. Like you said, so much history. I don't think it's one that players are dying to go to, but it is, each park has its own thing. My dad shared with me that he would go running in the stadium and running up to the center field upper deck, and the higher seats behind home plate, you could look across and you'd actually see San Francisco.
Right.
So you got a pretty good view. But yeah, I mean, it's the end of an era. It's going to be difficult for guys like Marcus Semien and Jonah Heim and Andrew Chafin, who have spent time with the Athletics. And let's take a listen to what Marcus Semien has to say about returning to the Coliseum one last time.
I grew up a Giants fan, but I played for the A's for 6 years. And once I got to be a part of that and, finally be a part of a winning team in Oakland, my 4th year there, I see what all the excitement was about.
Marcus Semien is from the East Bay, so that side of the Bay. He grew up over there on the Oakland side. When you say the East Bay, that's, across the Bay across the Bay Bridge from San Francisco. Now, he told us the other day that his parents are both San Francisco people, both born and raised in San Francisco, but moved over to the East Bay when he was a child. And so it's sentimental for him. It means a lot. And, of course, he played there, as he said, for 6 years.
Yeah, it means a lot to him. And, he also does really well against the Oakland Athletics. We'll dive into that a little bit more. But he's got 400 hits at the Coliseum. So I'm expecting his bat to be pretty hot there this weekend.
Yeah, no doubt. And it's...
or this week, sorry. It's Monday.
Yeah, no,
Tuesday.
Whatever. It's one of those things, too, though, Jeff, that to your point, guys might like, again, going to San Francisco. I know oftentimes guys' wives will meet them even when, they don't necessarily go to the game, but they'll meet them because San Francisco is a bit of a draw. But other than Marcus, there's probably not a lot of guys who are going to wax poetic and nostalgic about that ballpark.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to be taking pictures or waving goodbye or anything like that. There's a downside to it, of course, the jobs that are lost, the groundskeepers and everything like that, the seasonal jobs. Again, something that seemed like it could be avoided. But Oakland's a great baseball town. That just the players who have come from Oakland, Joe Morgan, Ricky Henderson, Reggie Jackson, I think had some roots there. Gary Pettis, the former Rangers third base coach,
he sure did.
grew up right outside the ballpark, and it's not a great area, but so there's baseball tradition that goes outside of the A's, just in the area. But yeah, it's again, it just seems like this could have been avoided. I think that's the saddest part of it all.
It really is. And to your point about this being very much a flashpoint of a franchise and of a place, the Charlie Finley days, those 1970s A's teams that won. Of course, Reggie Jackson was a part of those teams, and Catfish Hunter, who we've already mentioned, and so many other big names. So but even then, they weren't necessarily drawing particularly well. In the World Series years they were, but by the late 70s, there was a game in 79 where the actual announced attendance was 600 something. I mean,
Wow.
Unbelievable how poorly, as big of a fan base as they should seemingly have, with that much history behind them, they just haven't drawn particularly well. Now, that said, I don't know that there are too many better fans than the ones who do show up nowadays. Again, they're, I'm talking about the last 4 or 5 years when I was there. Those fans are really great and really passionate, but there's just not enough of them.
Exactly. And it's not like John Fisher, who's the current owner, has been the only cheap owner.
Right.
I mean, Charles Finley was notoriously cheap. And Lou Wolf before our
Fisher.
guy Fisher here. The Moneyball teams. I mean, one of the tenets of Moneyball is finding the best value for players, and the A's resorted to that because they didn't have money to go out and spend in free agency. So you can look at those Moneyball teams, and Hudson, Zeter, Mulder, Jason Giambi, Miguel Tejada. None of them retired with the A's.
No,
they all finished their careers ultimately leaving via free agency or via trade. So. It's been a problem that a small market team faces. They're not the only small market team, but they are the one that seem to have the least amount of support. So when you hear about the fans who are upset about leaving, it's a vocal minority. If fans had supported the team and if there had been a ballpark they wanted to go to, it might be a different story too. There are a lot of factors involved. I mean, across the bay are the Giants, and the Giants territory in that area, basically the only part of the territory they don't have is the East Bay. They have all the way down to San Jose and all the way up north. So it's a tough market for a team to be in anyway, with the way the Giants have their territory marked out. That becomes a revenue issue and all of that stuff. So again, a lot of factors involved here. It's not just John Fisher being a big bad guy. He could have been a better steward of the franchise for sure, but this can't just pin this on one guy as much as people want to. Yeah, and
certainly that San Jose thing was such a problem because that was, that's ultimately that area down there is where the 49ers moved, right? So that was a potential place for them to land and still cater to the fans of the Northern California area, but they didn't have the rights, and the Giants weren't going to give them up.
Exactly. So it's, again, it just seemed like there could have been a solution somewhere, but ultimately, obviously the ownership wanted out. They have a chance to make more money in Las Vegas. The mayor of Oakland is a Bowser. I think she's got her own problems aside from the A's leaving. And then, the territorial rights. And I think that Commissioner Rob Manfred ultimately became tired of the situation too. So the best solution might be relocation for this team.
You know what is odd, though? There is like a fake fandom with the Oakland Athletics because at least at trendy clothing stores like Urban Outfitters or something, there's like a Yankees hat, a Dodgers hat, and then weirdly an Oakland Athletics hat. I think it's because of like the green-yellow combo that's odd, but it is kind of weird because it does have like appeal to like non-baseball fans.
Yeah, that's
but
interesting.
Actual baseball fans are like, yeah, we're good.
Yeah, thanks anyway. We don't need that memorabilia. Hey, we would ask you to chat along with us, like us, subscribe to us. It's the DLLS Rangers Podcast, and we're just getting started on this Tuesday as the Rangers just get started on this series against the A's, the last one that will be played at the Oakland Coliseum there in the East Bay. We've got more to talk about regarding the series, of course, including Nathan Eovaldi, who takes the mound today. We'll do some cleanup on Corey Seager's end to the season and the proclamation therein. We've got all that to come, but we're wondering if you have any memories from Oakland Coliseum. I know a lot of you travel with the Rangers, especially in the years when they play so well. Let us know in the chat if you ever went and if you have any memories of it. But first, we want you to know that Jeff became a millionaire over the weekend with his bets on
Did you see
Sleeper.
his new haircut?
Yeah,
That's why?
Yeah, I celebrated with a haircut. But here you go. Yeah, my wife hates it. Anyway, Sleeper, I've downloaded the app. My wife beat me to it, and then I got FOMO and went ahead and did it myself. And over the weekend, I made a few bets and actually hit one of them. And there's ways to go about this. I've actually hit two. But you can make your picks, your daily player picks, and do however many teams you want. You have to do at least two, however much you want to do. You can do $1, $2, $5, $100, and you just it really adds a lot of interest to the game. But your matchups, it's like a degree of difficulty, kind of like a Simone Biles routine. And the higher the degree of difficulty, the bigger the payout. But you can also do what's called a flex, which kind of allows you a little bit of a bumper. You can miss a game or two and still get some money back. And so anyway, I hit a flex, even though I nailed all 5 of the picks, and won about $40. And then and there's some rules, some things I'm still getting used to. Like the second bet I hit, I just did 3 players. One of them didn't play, so it got knocked down to a 2-teamer, or 2-player deal. But Sleeper, for those of you who don't know, or is big on the fantasy football, but they're really getting into this daily picks business. And I've seen a lot of billboards up in our area with Sleeper. And so if you think you have what it takes, download the Sleeper app, use the code DLLS Rangers for up to $100 first deposit match. And it's true. Take it from me. I put in 100. I got $100 match. See Sleeper's terms and of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states, including the Lone Star State. So check out Sleeper today and become a big winner like me.
Fantastic.
Can you make a parlay of multiple sports?
I haven't tried that yet. I did do some football. I did a Cowboys. I picked 6 Cowboys Ravens outcomes, and I didn't do as well on that one. So I'm going to stick to what I know.
Neither did the Cowboys.
Baseball.
I'm going to stick to what I know.
Yep.
Well, speaking of money back, so let's talk about saving money, because we have a great deal with Empire Today. Empire Today is the one-stop shop for flooring. I wish that you guys could see our studio in here, because they did install some beautiful hardwood floors. What kind of color would you call that?
Maple.
Maple.
I believe that's a maple.
Ooh, maple.
That's a bronze maple.
Okay.
No, they
so-
usually give it like a funky name more than bronze, but to me that would be bronze maple. I'd go to Empire Today and I'd say, "Can we get bronze maple?"
Bronze maple. We're going to go with it. So they installed these beautiful floors. They've just got such great quality. I actually like laying in the floor. I've even laid on the floor. It's comfy here. You can watch a game comfortably from the floor. So why have a couch when you can just lay on the floor? But no, Empire Today has been around forever, longer than I have been alive, and they have just great service. They are the one-stop shop for floors. They don't do anything else like windows or other treatments to the house. So they focus on what they know best, kind of like Jeff was saying, stick to your game and Sleeper and, make money where it makes sense. But they offer a virtual option now with the day and age of smartphones. You can kind of give a virtual tour of your house and see what your floor is going to look like before you buy it. And I bet Miss Kathy would love that.
There's no question about that. That's a game changer, really, because sometimes, you'd have them do the whole thing and it's like,
You don't like it.
Doesn't look as nice as I thought
Doesn't
it
look
would.
as mapley as I thought.
Or as bronze.
Right. So you can check it out. You can schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when you use the code DLLS. Restrictions may apply, but go to empiretoday.com/DLLS for details. And guys, did y'all know that Tim Cato loves doing this read?
Oh, I didn't know.
with the Mavs. Like, this is his.
Oh.
It's been his like solidified. Like, he loves to talk
He's
about
in
floors.
it. I
Yeah.
heard somebody, actually singing the
That was Tim.
jingle. Well, was that him?
That was Tim.
He's got a
So
pretty decent singing voice, I must
we
admit.
might have to get him to sing on
Yeah,
our
I
on our show
swear.
one day.
I don't know that you want any of us to sing it, but that's a familiar jingle, no doubt about that. All right, let's talk Rangers and A's. And the Rangers will send Nathan Eovaldi to the mound today. And Abs, you asked a good question earlier. What the heck has happened to
What
Nathan his
has
last
happened?
2 games? you know?
Yeah, he gave up a season worst of 7 runs last Tuesday against the Blue Jays. He's allowed 11 earned runs, 18 hits in his last 2 starts, 9 2/3 innings pitched. Prior to these outings, 5 earned runs and 12 hits and 20 innings pitched. So, nasty Nate. The nasty part of it is wearing off a little bit this season. I will say he does really, really well against the Oakland A's. He's 3-1 with a 2.2 ERA and 6 career starts in the Coliseum. And he actually had a pretty good outing there in May 2023. He gave up 3 hits over 8 2/3 scoreless with a 4-0 win. So it has been a minute. But, you're looking for Nathan Eovaldi to hopefully get back on that nasty Nate, and maybe these last 2 games were just a slip up. I don't really know if there's justification for the last 2.
Well, I watched the one last Tuesday from the stands with my family, and it seemed pretty apparent that he couldn't command his off-speed pitches. So early on, he had to rely on the fastball, and big league teams can hit fastballs, and he ended up giving up 7 hits in the first 2 innings, I think, but they were down only 3-1. They came back, took the lead, and then he uncharacteristically gave it right back in the 5th inning. He couldn't finish. Bruce Bochy was trying to get him a win, so maybe that, in hindsight, wasn't the best idea. And the Rangers ended up winning the game as kind of a what was that? That was a 13-8 game. That took 4 days to be played, and then I would expect him to be better. I mean, first of all, Oakland's a hitter's park. It can be chilly at night. You have all that foul territory, so maybe some extra outs get made chasing down pop foul balls. But he's not going to stand for this. This is his last start of the season. He doesn't want to go in on a losing streak, or at least not pitching well. I would expect him to be just fine. As you see teams more and more, though, they get a pretty good idea of what you have. Fortunately for him, he has so many different pitches he can throw for strikes and go to if something isn't working. But I would expect that he will have rectified the issue with those off-speed pitches early, and maybe have a little bit better fastball command. So I expect a good start.
Yeah,
from
and
Mr. Eovaldi.
he got to that player option with that last start, right?
Yeah.
And that kicked him into having the option, or allows him to, and that means more money certainly. But the reality is he's probably going to make more through free agency anyway.
Yeah, everybody, Chris Young expects him to take free agency.
Yeah,
and it's the smart thing to do. He will have more than $20 million available in free agency this offseason. How much more is what the Rangers have to figure out, whether it's a 2 or 3 year deal, whether it's an average of less than 20, but a nice pile beyond the 20 million, like 3 and 57. I don't know. I'm kind of making that up. But it'll be a competitive market for him. But he wants to stay. The Rangers have said he's going to be their number 1 priority this offseason. So, I mean, if it's a fit just for him because of, like we've talked about, where his family resides in the Houston area. He loves the fact that he can pop down and see them real quick, that they can pop up and see him real quick. He has 2 young kids. They don't miss a ton of school. All the benefits of being a Texas Rangers pitcher are right there for him to take. So, I think it's going to get done. I really do. The Rangers have said in the past, C.J. Wilson is our number 1 priority, or so-and-so is our number 1 priority. I just think that there's some more conviction behind this one, and more of a willingness on the other side to stay put.
And you've got the guy that's saying that is Chris Young. And the one thing we know about Chris Young is you can never get enough pitching, right? And so you don't want to let pitchers go. Now, it's likely that they'll let a couple go. I mean, at least one other free agent. It's likely that Max Scherzer or Andrew Heaney, or perhaps both, are no longer part of that pitching rotation next year. You can only lose so many, and that's why you've got to, set these priorities.
Yeah, and of the three, who would you prioritize?
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
I think it's
Absolutely.
Evaldi's the answer. And I'm not so sure that Heaney isn't the second answer of that trio, but also, you have other holes you got to plug. You can't devote all your resources to just the rotation. The bullpen with Yates and Robertson, I can't imagine that they won't try to keep at least one of those two. Maybe they have the money for both. They are both older guys, so their contracts get a little bit tricky, but it's hard to argue with the results this year. And you don't think that there's going to be just a huge drop off next year based on, 4 months off. Yeah,
Right.
I anticipate that these guys will be effective somewhere, wherever they pitch. But I would think that some of the resources that the Rangers are picking up that come off the books, because Evaldi will officially come off the books, Scherzer, Heaney, Jose Leclerc, Yates, Robertson, if he declines his mutual option, that frees up like $50 million right there. So how are you going to spread that $50 million out? I also think that Chris Young would not have agreed to stay on in his role if he hadn't had some assurances from ownership that enough money is going to be there to do X, Y, and Z, regardless of what happens with the TV contract. I just think that he would not have put himself in that position to basically rebuild a pitching staff. I just, that's just my hunch.
Yeah,
No,
makes sense.
Evo's priority A and B, I think.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
But we've got a righty on a righty today. Evo going against Mitch Spence. Here's one positive stat. No visiting team has more victories at the Coliseum than the Rangers, which is pretty exciting. So you're hoping, the Athletics just came off of they were swept by the Yankees. The Yankees, their bats did damage. 21 runs, 6 home runs. So you're hoping that the Athletics aren't, banking a few offensive plays for the Rangers over the next few days. But Marcus Semien, one guy that, we're looking to get hot. He does really, really well against Oakland. He's batting .290 for his career in Oakland. 62 hits, 13 home runs, 42 RBI. Like I mentioned, he leads all active players with 400 hits at the Coliseum. So hoping for him to do well. But, yeah, the Rangers do have a lot of success, historically speaking, at this place.
Marcus Semien and the rest of the offense coming off a pretty fun game. Semien, of course, drove in the game-winning run and that walk-off that basically closed out the home portion of the schedule on Sunday. So no doubt, they're all feeling really good about the way that one concluded because they were stifled. They were not having anything offensively early in that game, really through the first 5 innings, and then they broke it open and came back to win it. So certainly the Rangers will hope that they can be better on the road for this trip than they have been really all season long. I mean, they're in Oakland, which has lost not just the 3 to the Yankees, but 5 in a row at home. That's their longest home losing streak of the season. And then they go to Anaheim, which Anaheim's in a position right now, the Angels, Jeff, where if they don't win 2 of the final games in this homestand, they will be the losingest team in a home team in MLB history. The 2019 Tigers and the 1939 St. Louis Browns each lost 59. The Angels could lose 60 games unless they win a couple on this homestand.
Well, the good news is they have the White Sox.
That's true.
So that's a good way to avoid it.
Yeah.
But this is like a losing battle. It's a lose-lose for either because the White Sox are 1 loss away from breaking the 1962 record of most losses in a single season.
That's going to happen. They're terrible. I mean, on my sleeper bets, I took advantage of the Padres White Sox matchups. So I'm trying it again tonight too. So we'll see what happens. But I hate it. I hate it for Ron Washington, of course, our friend John, and a great baseball man. But he knew what he was getting into, and when they were here earlier this month, he said we're going to be good next year. Bet on it. Not having Mike Trout is obviously a big blow to any team. But that's interesting. Angels have been around a while too.
They have.
I mean,
Yeah.
they
61.
They've changed names a lot, but they've always been there. And so that'll be something to watch. But man, it's been a bad year in the West. It really
sure
has been.
It's been tough.
We thought it would be a really good division too, and it really just hasn't been a really
High
good
hopes.
division. Yeah, we had
They're
really
shattered.
high. Thought that battle between the Astros and the Rangers and the Mariners in particular was going to be great, and it really never quite materialized. But the road trip is on, and we're going to get to some of the scenarios that could happen on this final road trip. Also give you the final Corey Seager update of this season, and all that is coming up as we continue on the DLLS Rangers podcast. We'd like you to tell us what you think the Rangers will do on the road trip record-wise. It's a 6-gamer. They're going to split. They're going to do better than that. Let us know what you think. It matters to the final season win total, which is one of the things we'll talk about next. But first, Abs, let's get some people hired.
Man, we're trying. We are definitely trying. Grateful for the jobs that we have because, it doesn't really feel like you're working when you're just talking about baseball.
Sitting on a comfy chair talking sports.
Yeah. So Indeed, if you need to hire, you need Indeed. They're driven by research for better. When it comes to hiring, the best way to search is actually not to search at all. They just kind of match you. It's like an algorithm these days on matchups, and it works well in sports. So why not work the same way when you're talking about jobs? But Indeed is your matching and hiring platform. They've got 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data. And they have a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. So it kind of takes the busy work out of things because, I've never been in the position to hire somebody. I feel like there's a lot of hoops you got to jump through, looking through the resumes, scheduling the interviews, all that stuff. Sounds like this kind of takes all that work out of it. You can schedule, screen, and message so you can connect with candidates faster. Seems like a pretty seamless process. If you need to hire somebody, you do need Indeed. 93% of employers agreed that Indeed delivers the highest quality of matches compared to other job sites. I really don't even know where else you'd go. I've never heard of a competitor, which I guess is a good thing. They're doing a pretty good job. But they take out the stress out of the hiring process. So since we've been talking, there's been 23 hires made on Indeed. So you get a $75 sponsored job credit, which is just going to put your job profile, at the highest part. When it's looking for the matches, it'll kind of mix your stuff in the shuffle a little bit more, and everyone likes that. So check it out. Go to Indeed.com/AllCity, and you can use the code ALLCITY for that $75 job credit. And tell them you found out about it on your favorite podcast.
Yeah, we would appreciate that if you
Terms
do
and
that.
conditions apply.
Yeah, so the game times in Oakland are rather strange. 7 or 8:40 our time for the next two, which is 6:40 out there. It's a strange start time for a baseball game. And then on the finale, Thursday, that's a day game, getaway day. They start at 12:40, although I've heard 12:45. Maybe there's going to be a 5-minute ceremony to celebrate it. But 12:45 start time for a sellout crowd. You know what that means? Their time. 12:45 their time, 2:45 our time. So you know what that means for a sellout crowd out there. Lots of day drinking.
You need
Under the
prebiotics.
In the sun. And so you know what you need if you're going to day drink.
You need the Z.
With breakfast, get you a Z Biotics. You do need the Z. Like Abby said so well, the Z Biotics is such a great product. It's brand new. You may have never even heard of it. It's just come out. It's a pre-alcohol drink. What happens with alcohol when it gets into your system, your metabolism turns it into some, just some nasty stuff that can really make you
leads
feel
to
bad.
dehydration.
Yeah, and it can lead, especially in the sun, it can lead to dehydration. But guess what? If you drink a Z Biotics, which is, again, a pre-alcohol drink, you will not wake up feeling badly. And in a case like that, it might be just the late afternoon nap that you take that you don't want to wake up from feeling badly, right? Because you're going to be starting early and you need a Z-Biotics. Make sure that your first drink is a Z-Biotics. It was invented by PhD scientists who scientifically looked at the body and figured out how they can make this happen, and they have. So we encourage you to make your first drink a Z-Biotics.
And the assistant to the regional manager backs that statement up.
100%.
I could have, speaking of Oakland and Oakland stories, the Rangers clinched the division in 2010. It was their first one since 98, and it was Michael Young's first, and it was a day game. It was a Saturday day game. And so they were going out, and they were celebrating. And they did have a day game the next day. Well, Anthony Andro and Emily Jones and myself were fortunate enough to join them at the spot where they were partying. And I could have used a Z-Biotic the next morning. There's no doubt about it. And so could a lot of the players. Here's a pretty funny story. The game took forever. All right, Colby Lewis was pitching that game, and he needed I don't know, a few innings to get to 200 for an incentive to kick in. And I had definitely saw Colby out drinking that night. And now Colby's different. He's just a machine. But he came in that day. They all came in on the bus, and Colby reached into the training room and unscrewed the Advil cap and just started pouring aspirin into his hand. I don't know how many. He swears it was only 4. I think it was a minimum of 8. Anyway, knocked it down, went out, pitched 6 innings. Jeff Francoeur had to play in that game because Walsh was short of DH because everybody else was out. And I was drinking Jack and Cokes that night with Jeff Francoeur. So anyway, he goes into the game early on, hits a 3-run homer, runs around the bases, comes to the dugout, runs up to the clubhouse, and throws up. So, Z-Biotics all around, especially when you think you're going to clinch.
That sounds like a Dennis Rodman story.
I was at that restaurant, too, playing beer pong.
Yes.
And me and Fitz were...
What kind of restaurant allows...
It wasn't really a restaurant. It was a bar.
It was a bar, but I think there was food. We ate there, too, didn't we?
Okay.
I didn't eat there.
I think I ate something. But anyway, we were playing beer pong with Matt Harrison
and Darren O'Day.
And they didn't lose.
They were dominating.
And Fitz and I were the only ones, couple of Irish guys, we were the only ones that came close. Like we were within one splash of beating Matt Harrison and Darren O'Day.
I need to hear more
so here's
of
a
y'all's
lesson.
Stories.
Don't play beer pong against Major League pitchers.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, they have that hand-eye coordination thing down. So anyway, those are fun memories. And we're going to, probably tomorrow, we're going to do some of the major milestones that the Rangers have had at Oakland, because there are quite a few in Rangers history. And as Abby mentioned, the Rangers have more victories there than any other opponent. I think it's telling that Major League Baseball certainly makes the schedule, but the A's probably had some input, and they wanted, the Yankees were their second to the last, their penultimate opponent, and the Rangers are the ultimate opponent, in that this has been something of a rivalry over the years, and they've been in the same division, and they've seen each other a lot.
Yeah.
So will the Rangers sweep? Because they've got Evo, Bradford, Rocker. It's a good question for the chat. Hey, do you think Leiter? What's the
I would suspect that he starts
here?
Saturday
would be my guess. Keep DeGrom on his schedule.
Yep.
And that would give Jack an extra day to rest. I mean, he threw a lot of pitches the other night in relief. Interesting for Rocker, his first major league debut. All right, that's a nervous time. Home debut, that's a nervous time. He's going to be pitching in front of 50,000 people, and some of them are going to be out for blood.
Really true.
So it's going to be another tense.
That's such a cool story
for
though,
him.
because my dad closed out Tiger Stadium, and I mean he talks about that day like it's one of I think his favorite days to kind of relive of his major league career. So I think that's very exciting for Kumar Rocker to do.
It is. The difference there is that Tiger Stadium was so beloved, and this stadium is not. It's just not. And as Jeff said, there are some players who are going to be, nostalgic and poetic about it. And Marcus Semien, we've already heard from. We'll hear more from him on his thoughts as we go on through later in the week. But I'm not sure most of the players, even those who were A's. We've talked about Chafin was an A before Marcus. Who else? Jonah Heim. Jonah Heim made his debut there.
Yeah.
So, there are other guys. I don't think they're going to necessarily miss it that much, but it is. I mean, it's the biggest crowd
You're
Kumar
going
Rocker
down
will
in
have
Major
ever
League
pitched
history
against.
books, you
Yeah.
know? Like,
Yeah.
a win is a win.
Yeah. Yeah, no. So it's a great day for Rocker, and we mentioned Evaldi, and we've got Cody Bradford too. But we want to get to this Corey Seager
I was going to
thing.
say, are we going to get to Seager?
Yeah, let's get to Seager. We got to do this, but we're going to forget, and we do want to hear sort of the the postscript, if you will, on Corey.
Yeah, well, let's take a listen to the sound right now. We talked to Corey Seager shortly after his successful surgery.
It went good. Feel a lot better. After the first couple days, you can start moving around better, so it's good to be on the other end of it. Just to be able to have a healthy offseason is nice. Frustrated, obviously, that your season had to end early. But in general, it was probably the right thing to do, and just to be able to look forward to next year. A couple weeks, but you can't really pinpoint a certain moment, but it was definitely bothering me for a little.
Was it worse this year or last year?
Pretty similar, probably. Maybe a little worse this one, but in general, it's pretty much the same. Personally, just to get healthy. Didn't really have an off season last year, so to be able to just kind of get healthy and get your body back where you want it is something I really look forward to.
Never had a hernia, but a couple of my golf buddies have, and they're out. They're out for a while from golf, just golf. If much less Major League Baseball and all that you have to do there. So, I think, obviously the goal, the plan, the prospect is that Corey Seager is going to be ready for spring training, but and that's why they had the surgery now. But it's not like it's an automatic recovery.
Yeah, he pretty rigorously ramped up there to what I thought to get ready for opening day, and he said he wants to kind of take the same approach to this one so that he has the longest offseason possible, as much time in the offseason as possible. But I learned this when I had to have back surgery 10 years ago. You use your core for everything.
Yeah.
Everything you do, your core is involved. So it's not a pleasant experience, I'm sure. And he's moving around kind of gingerly, but he seemed like he was in pretty good spirits the rest of the homestand, especially the Sunday. He was saying hi to everybody and all this stuff, and he knows what the problem was, how now that it's fixed, what he has to do to go forward. So there should be a optimistic outlook, I guess, for him. 30 home runs this season, a good year, really.
Yeah, not bad.
Considering his April was not good at all, but once May came around, I think since the first week of May, he batted like almost 300, just under 300 to finish off the year. So it was a good year, but it wasn't what he did in 23, similar to everybody else. But he still was at least at or above his career norms. But he wants to be better. He wants to be the best. He's so meticulous about it. So stinks that he's not in the lineup, but hey, you know what? Get as ready as you can for next year, because the Rangers have a lot of hopes, and I'm sure he's tired of being on the injured list. It's happened to him all. It didn't happen to him his first season, but it happened to him the last two, and then his last season with the Dodgers, I think he had a broken wrist from a hit by pitch. So he's always had something happen to him during the course of his season in his career, and I'm sure he hopes that this offseason will get him ready to avoid that in 25.
Yeah, it's is he going on the trip?
He is going on the trip.
Yes, yeah. Because Max Scherzer hit the injured list after he woke up with that tight hamstring. He went home with the wife and kids so they get them
Seager,
started in
he and
Florida.
Maddie were at Napa Valley yesterday, enjoying an off day.
Nice. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So,
He's
good. But I think and I totally get. Max Scherzer's, got to get the kids back in school and all that. I don't think he's going to be that missed. But it's nice to have, a team leader guy like Seager there. Yeah. And still be part of the thing.
Well, it's important too. He's going to be back next year, and for 6 more years after that, or 5 more years after that. So he knows that he's going to be a guy for a long time, and you don't want your best player just checking out. And he doesn't have family. He has 2 cute puppies, but
he has family. He has a wife.
Well,
he doesn't have children.
He doesn't have children. Yeah, but and Max may not be back next year. You know, it's just two different situations, and it's good that Corey's going to be around.
Coming up next, we're hitting cleanup. That is, we're cleaning up all the messes that we've made and that baseball has made. So we're going to do that when we come back, talk a little bit about these wild card races, talk a little bit about what the Rangers could still accomplish and hope to avoid as they finish out the regular season. That is all coming up next. But first, we want to encourage you to be a diehard, because it is a very special club. It's getting more and more special as more and more people join, and we encourage you to become a part of our diehard group. That's our special group of friends who pay only $79.99, not even $80. $79.99 you pay to become a diehard, and when you do, we give you a free T-shirt. Now the T-shirt's worth $35, so math is hard.
You do the math.
Look, take 35 from 80, you're at 45, or should I say $44.99? You see what I'm saying? So it's not even $45 to join. And you get a lot of content. Jeff, in fact, congratulations to Jeff. He had our most read column article behind the paywall.
That's true.
And so we're proud of him for
Good job,
that.
Jeff.
And we've had
the paywall is important.
And just to brag a little bit, we've had the most watched video of anybody in our little group here. And we're proud of all of them, but we're proud to be proud of us. And so anyway, we want you to be part of us too. That's the whole thing about being a diehard, is to be a part of us. We're going to have, you get 20% off the merchandise. You get that free shirt every year. You get 20% off of our events, and those will be things like watch parties and takeovers of stadiums and that type of thing. Might even lead to, and we're planning on it, and we're really going to work toward trips, like a trip to spring training, 20% off that. That would be a significant savings and a great opportunity for you to see spring training with us, because we know where to go in Surprise, especially Jeff. Jeff's there every year.
Oh, my
and
gosh.
He's got places. He's got places for us. He knows where the bodies are buried, all of it. So anyway, become a diehard, become one of us, and continue to like and subscribe and follow and chat.
And you know, you can check out the shirt, pick your shirt from store.allcitynetwork.com. But why stop at one? I have 4 on the way, and hopefully they get here this week. But it's you can get a shirt for not just Rangers. If you're a Stars, Mavs, Cowboys, TCU fan, there's an SMU shirt. There's a UT shirt. You can show your support for your team while also showing all the people out there you're a cool kid and that you're on board with DLLS. And it's not just T-shirts. There are a couple sweet sweatshirts. I'm going to have to pick one of these up here as it is officially fall. Yeah, officially it's going to be 90 today, but that's all right. Need a sweatshirt
and hats
to add to the collection, and then hats. We don't have any hats yet. The other 4 markets do: Denver, Chicago, Philly, Phoenix. Some great designs, some great stuff. So if you go to store.allcitynetwork.com, you can pick and choose what you want, and we'll flag you down and take a picture with you, and maybe buy you an ice cream even.
Yeah, or a beer. I'm just saying.
Probably less calories in a beer.
Might be. Well, I'm sure there are. I'm sure there are. Yeah. So there you go. Be a part of us. Join us. Be friends with us. We'll be friends with you. We appreciate that. So the Rangers on this road trip, they do want to look. They've already been assured of the fact that they are going to have a losing record in the year after winning a World Series. They'll be the 6th team in this century, so since 2000, to have had that happen to them. Now, the record for futility in that realm is 2014, when the Boston Red Sox won only 71 games the year after winning the World Series. You go back to 2002, the Angels won 77 games the year after they won the World Series in 2002. That was, you go back to 2003. They won it in 2002. So anyway, the point is the Rangers want to be somewhere north of 77 if they can, which means they've got to get 3 wins
3
or
at
more.
least.
And right now, I think Fangraphs actually has them projected to get to 77 wins. And, that's probably, certainly, I think they'll do that. They'll win at least 1 in one of the series and 2 in the other, something like that. But it'd be nice, right? It'd be nice to go to 80, right? Go out there and finish really strong on the road and finish 80 and 82. That's not bad.
I think it's doable.
It is.
Jeff?
It's not impossible.
Yeah.
But I think that
it's not likely either. Yeah.
Yeah. They haven't won 6 games on a road trip this year, have they? I guess maybe the White Sox. I'd have to go
trip.
back.
Was that a 4-game?
That was a 10-game trip. It was a 3-game series.
Yeah.
Anyway, not impossible as Chief Wiggum's boy says in The Simpsons, but probably not likely. The A's are a decent team, and they're not going to finish losing 8 in a row, I think, in their last homestand ever. So anyway, we all know it hasn't been a banner year at all. Lots of things to work on, but it's still been a celebratory year. I mean, champs, you're the champs. All right, that's cool. Adrian Beltre goes to the Hall of Fame. Pretty cool. You host the All-Star game. Real cool. So it wasn't the coronation that they'd hoped for. And it's a shame. I love October baseball. And I love the travel and the hectic schedule and going from city to city and all of that. But, there's always next year and, show up in February, spring training, ready to go and hope for more. This offseason is going to be nuts.
It is. There's going to be a lot to do, a lot to accomplish. But speaking of October baseball, Abs, you and I were talking about that. Yeah, we were talking about that. I love this time of year, even if
I would love it a little bit more if it were a little chill in the air.
Yeah. Well, there will be by the end. But if your team is in it, especially, and I'm fortunate, I think Abs is too. Jeff, it seems like to a lesser extent, but I've got 2 teams for sure. I've got the Rangers and the Tigers. So right now, my team is right there. The other one, right there.
Actually, the Tigers have a 70% chance. All right, so we have a graph. Let's throw up, if the playoffs were to happen today, this would be how the cookie would crumble. Now, the Houston Astros can clinch the AL West tonight with a win in versus Seattle. It's in Houston. And the New York Yankees can clinch the AL East, and they would get a first-round bye and home field advantage with the ALDS with a win versus Baltimore. So we've got clinched divisions and postseason berths. In the mix still, playoff position is Astros, Orioles, Royals, Tigers, Padres, Diamondbacks, Mets. In the mix, Mariners, Twins, and Braves. Still alive, Red Sox, and the Rays. Lot of fun games today. I'm probably going to split screen and watch the Rangers because we're talking about it, and then honestly Mariners and Astros because it's who was it? Logan Gilbert and
Framber
Valdez. I mean, that's going to
matchup.
be a great game. The Tigers. It's probably going to be Scooble's last start of the regular season.
Well, and he'd line up for 162.
Right,
but if they clinch before 162, they'll want him for game 1 of that playoff series, which will be Tuesday.
So Scooble, this is just a crazy stat I found today. Scooble is undefeated in his last 8 outings. He has a 2.2 ERA, and he's 5-0. In those 8 outings, he's walked just 8 batters and struck out 59.
Wow.
So he's still leading the AL, with the Triple Crown and wins, ERA, and strikeouts. So
he's likely to get that pitching Triple Crown, which will be, the first time a guy's gotten it in the American League since Verlander.
Yeah.
Back in 11.
Keeping it in the Tigers.
Yeah.
And then so the Yankees today, like I said, they can clinch the AL East. And the Orioles also can clinch a postseason berth with a win or a loss from either the Royals, Twins on Tuesday. But the Orioles, that's going to be a fun game as well because it's likely that the Orioles are going to be that number 4 seed and the Yankees are going to be number 1. So these teams would line up for the ALDS. And, if the Orioles can make it out of the wild card.
Yeah, and if that graphic held true and the Tigers played the Astros, speaking of Verlander, man, that'd be juicy. That would be because
really
the
would.
Tiger faithful are still mad. And in a way, I don't blame him. It looked like Verlander was done at the end of his stay in Detroit. And he goes to Houston, and he's reinvented, because that was 17 when they were, they needed him and they got him, and he helped them obviously clinch that year and then go on to win the World Series. But Tiger fans just couldn't believe their eyes that all of a sudden Justin Verlander had all of this left.
I think we can phone a friend for that, because my dad has a really good perspective.
Does he?
With Verlander. Yeah,
was he still around in 17 as a player?
No,
your dad?
not there.
No.
But
okay.
My dad did contribute a lot to Justin's rookie season in 2005. And so he kind of took him under the wing a little bit with pitching. And I do think he can just talk about, because he knows the ins and outs of the Tigers and all of that. But he'll be a good guest.
He's still in Italy now, right? So we'll have to get him when.
home.
No, they'll be back tomorrow.
Jeez.
I know.
All right.
What a
Beautiful.
trip.
Well, that's great. But that's one great subplot. And that's one of the things, Jeff, to your point, that you just love about October. And for those of us who have, had the joy and the blessing of covering a Major League Baseball all the way through the World Series, you're just always jumping on a plane and you don't know where we're going, what's going to be next.
Yeah.
It's going to be New York. Okay, that's cool. Let's go up and play the Yankees in New York after the Tampa Bay series. And then who's going to win on the National League? Oh, wow, it's St. Louis, or whatever it was. Detroit, the one year we played Detroit in the ALCS in 11 was that?
Yeah, 11.
That was fantastic
Jeff,
for me.
Are you going to have a postseason team?
I don't know.
asked you.
Maybe I'll adopt one. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I don't.
Are you going American League?
It's kind of weird.
National
I
League?
really don't have favorite teams.
So you're Colorado ties.
No, the Rockies started my senior year of high school, so I never really had connection with them.
You don't have the loyalty.
And so I don't know what I'll do. I was a Braves fan growing up because we had TBS.
Sure.
And it was before they got good. I started liking them. My buddy loved Dale Murphy. I'm sure he'd love David.
We love David too. Yeah.
But so that was kind of my hook, and they were so bad, and then they got good, and everybody thought I was on the bandwagon. I was like, no, I've been watching them for a long time, guys. And anyway, I don't know what I'll do, because the Braves are not looking like a playoff team at this point. The big series though against the Mets this week. So I don't know, but I did want to. I don't know what we got playing the rest of the show. I was on my way from TCU, but had a couple questions that are on the chat. Natalie asked about Evan Carter. Will he continue to deal with back issues? We talked to him this week, and he's very cryptic.
He had a good response.
But it turns out it's not a big deal. It's going to be very easy for him to manage. They think they found the root cause of it, the continued back pain. So hopefully he doesn't think it's a big deal, and he expects to be fully healthy and a player next year. Who's getting called up later today? Josh Young is going to go on the injured list. Ezekiel Duran is also, I believe, going on the paternity list. So the Rangers
he's having his baby
the Rangers
tomorrow.
have two holes there on the left side of the infield. So it doesn't look like Blaine Krim is going to be called up, even though he probably deserves it more than anybody else. So at that point, you're really kind of, I looked at the AAA and AA rosters, you're kind of scraping here. I don't want to say the bottom of the barrel, but guys who aren't on the 40-man roster. One is Matt Duffy, who's a veteran guy who's been around forever. The other is Max Acosta, the AA shortstop, who had a fabulous second half and has put himself in position to be protected from the Rule 5 draft in November. So you might want to put him on. And then the last thing, Bill Flanagan, longtime Rangers Today guy, he said the grass is always immaculate at Oakland Coliseum, unless it's football season.
Right.
Then it was a disaster.
Terrible.
But Bill, thanks for tuning in. And then Andres just popped in. Do you think the Rangers will pursue Max Fried? I do not.
Okay. Now, quickly, because you're so
You have good
high on
eyes.
Blaine Krim.
I love Blaine Krim.
Why? What's the holdup here? Why doesn't the team?
He's a right-handed first baseman, and they don't think he's going to hit for enough power. There's a pretty high barometer for power from a right-handed hitter, which I think that's bogus. If your first baseman this year is slugging 380, give the guy who has a 504 career slugging percentage in the minor leagues a chance. That's just my opinion. Obviously, it's not shared.
Okay. Time for Tony Tuesdays before we say goodbye and we do this cleanup section.
Tony Tuesday, take 1 minute today and really focus on how good God has been to you. And then say thank you. Walk with the favor of the Lord over you. Win your day, Tony Tuesday. I like that one.
Yep. Tony's very inspirational. We love him, and that's how we love to close the show on Tuesday. The Rangers play the A's tonight. One final series in Oakland. It should be exciting. We'll be here to talk about it tomorrow as we continue to hear from Marcus Semien, an East Bay resident, or was his entire time growing up. He still lives in Northern California, has a place there. So lots to talk about on tomorrow's show, too. Enjoy the Rangers game tonight, and we will see you tomorrow right here on the DLLS Rangers Podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.